Okay, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Amandafest podcast, where our mission is simple. It's to inspire and empower you to take aligned action towards your dream life, whatever that looks like for you. I have a very special guest here today, my friend Freddy, all the way from Toronto. Freddy is the creative force behind Soul Expansion, a movement that is redefining what it means to heal and connect through music. With a background that weaves together live performance, guided meditation, sound healing, emotional storytelling, Freddy is on a mission to bring soul-level transformation to audiences all around the world. What started as a few intimate gatherings turned into a growing phenomenon, drawing packed rooms in New York, Toronto, Tulum, and Mexico City. His events blend the raw energy of a concert with the stillness of a spiritual journey. Think sound bath meets live band, breathwork meets storytelling, and healing disguised as a party. I am so excited to dive into this juicy conversation, but as we've done with every episode, we're just going to take a moment to ground down, arrive in the here and now, and get present so that we can absorb all of the juice and all of the wisdom and all of the magic that I know is about to unfold during this conversation. So, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if it's safe to do so, I invite you to close down your eyes. I like to put a hand on my heart and one on my belly. Just start breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Tuning into your internal world. Just noticing what's alive for you right here, right now, in this moment. And with each inhale, I want you to start to think about an intention, something that you want to be filled up with, something that you want more of right here in this moment. And with every exhale, I really want you to imagine you're letting go. You're breathing out anything that is not in alignment with that intention, anything that no longer serves you. You can breathe out stress, worry, anxiety, physical pain, whatever it is. Imagine with that exhale, that unwanted, undesired emotion, feeling is leaving your body. So we're going to do a couple breaths with those thoughts in mind. Inhale your intention. And exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. Last one, feel free to shake it out, make some noise, do what you got to do to get fully present in through the nose. And shake it out. Arrive in the here and now. Welcome to your bodies. Welcome to Amandafest, and welcome, Freddy.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. This is awesome.
I'm so excited to have you here. I know you just had an event last night. How did it go?
Oh man, it was so special. It's, one of those things where there's so much work that goes into it. And then when you're there, you're like, oh yeah, okay, this is why we're doing this. And it was a new venue. So just like new challenges. And we tried to do it in a different way just to kind of add more of this entertainment value, more of this social aspect of it. That's the idea, is like healing meets entertainment, just have some fun. So yeah, it was really cool.
I always like to start it off telling people how we got connected initially. I don't know, from your perspective, my story is a little bit convoluted, but we were in Tulum in January, and I have a friend that was actually on the podcast, Calvin. He was born and raised in a polygamous cult. I don't know if you know him, but your friend Chris is friends with him.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very long story short, through internet weaves, Calvin and I met in New York at the end of last year. He and I started connecting. We were actually going to Othership together. That was the first time we met, was at an Othership. And I just had Robbie on the podcast too. So I have this like very interweaved web of guests. But basically, when I was in Tulum, I get a DM from my friend Calvin in New York. And he was like, yo, I have a friend in Tulum. You have to meet him. And I was like, all right, say less. I'm down. So then I messaged Chris, and Chris immediately invited me on a spontaneous adventure. I wasn't available, but he was like, all right, let's get coffee tomorrow. And then at coffee, he was like, I'm so glad we connected. I told him all about what I was doing and what I was building. He was like, I have this crew from Toronto coming in tonight. You need to meet them. And I was like, great, I'm in. So the first time we met, I think that was you guys' first night in Tulum, right?
Yeah, I think it was the first night. It was Roomba Baby's birthday.
So we all met up at, of course, a music venue, and it was amazing. And I was learning about what you were building and doing. And I was like, okay, these people are so fucking cool. You guys were all also interconnected with Rachel Melinda as well, who I also have worked with. So
Yes.
full circle, full circle. But yeah, Tulum. And then you guys went to Mexico City after that, right?
Yeah, so that tune was so amazing. It was so special. And it came at such a beautiful time for me to just get out of Toronto. So I was super excited about that. And then Mexico City, I had never been. So we were planning to go for Art Week. And it just came together so beautifully. And the crew that we were with was just so fun. It was a little bit of like work, a little bit of play. So we were able to do some of these gigs that some of them were just spontaneous and then some of them were planned out. And I was like, yeah, this is how I want to spend my winters all the time. Like, what are we doing here? I don't
But also a dream of how to live life, right? I feel like
know.
traveling, being able to pursue your soul's purpose, being able to facilitate and curate events everywhere you go. I saw what you guys were doing, and I'm in Mexico City right now, and I'm actually facilitating an event this weekend. I'm doing the opening of an ecstatic dance out here, and it was kind of inspired by you guys.
Yeah. So I'll tell you how the Mexico City one came about because it was
Yeah,
not planned. It was spontaneous. So I had an intention going in. I had a couple intentions for the whole trip, and it was one of those trips where just universe has your back kind of vibe. It was
yeah,
just one of those. Everything just was like, okay, this sounds good. So we went to Mexico City, had these beautiful experiences with some of the Art Week activations with friends and some of these really cool parties. And I was like, I would love to facilitate here, play some music, do something in this city. It's just so full of life. And for those that haven't been, it's like New
it's
York City
amazing.
energy, but with this European flair and vibe and just so beautiful. And I fell in love with it right away. And so my intention was like, okay, let's do something. And then by the end of, I think we were there for maybe 10 days or something like that. And towards the end of the trip, nothing had came about. And I'd gone to like my friends' gigs. I had gone to Chris's gigs. I was like, okay, this is beautiful. Maybe it's just not in the cards to do something. So then we got invited to this just randomly through a friend that we met down there. She's like, come to this tea ceremony thing. And I forget the name of the place right now, but it's absolutely beautiful. And if you haven't been to a tea ceremony, I highly recommend it. It's full on meditation. You don't speak at all. And it's just very intentional, like tea drinking
Yeah.
essentially. And they tell you about the teas and they treat it like wine. It's like, this tea is from like 1940 and it's been curated in this way. And I just thought it was so beautiful and so intentional. And the guy doing it was just so methodical and everything that he was doing. So we had this beautiful experience and we're sitting beside some really interesting people. I think you're only like maybe 12 people in the space and that was like
Right.
full. You couldn't get more than that in there. And so we go through the ceremony, and then afterwards, there's kind of like a sharing circle, and everybody shares what they're going through and what came up for them during the silence and all of these things. Yeah, it was super beautiful. And then the gentleman beside me, we just started talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I own this place called Rewire Lab." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we walked by that like 10 times, and we were wondering what's going on in here. We knew it was saw an ice bath. We knew, and obviously like huge Othership background. You can't get through a podcast without talking about Othership, of course. Yeah, rightfully so. So he said he was actually inspired by Othership to create this space in Mexico
Love
City.
it.
So yeah, really beautiful. So I was like, yeah, of course, we'll come check it out. So he's like, let's go right now. I was like, oh, okay, sounds good. Yeah. So we went right after the tea ceremony. This is at like, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night. So we go there and the space is really cool. It's got this event space to it. I don't know if you've been before, but it's right in the heart there in La Condesa. So it's got the probably 10, 12 person sauna and one ice bath. And then it's got this huge event space there. So I was
Cool.
looking at it, I was like, okay, this is soul expansion E. We can kind of like make it work. I'm like, but we leave in like 2 days. Like we're
Right.
out of here. And he's like, well, what are you doing tomorrow night? I'm like, I don't know, we've never done this in 24 hours before. I'm like, how many people do you think would be interested in this? He's like, I'll email it out to everybody I know. It's like, who do you guys know? And we showed him the videos of what we had done. So
Yeah.
he was all psyched up. He's like, we got to get this here. We have to do it. So I was like, okay, we'll figure out the programming on our end. We'll make sure it's ready to rock. And we just got to get the people there. So he ends up sending it out to all these group chats. We end up just meeting some cool people and over the next, like during the day, sending out emails, sending out
Right.
is we ended up getting about 30 people there, which was crazy for like 24 hours. Just to pull something like that off was just super special. And then we dropped in, and it was one of the best soul expansions that I personally ever experienced myself. Cause I'm in it too, right? Like where I'm
Right.
facilitating, I'm like a part of it and in it. So it felt very much in flow, and it felt very effortless in a lot of ways. There was obviously effort that went into it. And we had our whole video crew media team was with us because they were traveling with us.
Wild.
We're all like really close friends. So Wes and Sid and Sandra just like absolutely crushed it with the content. And they helped with our audio setup, making sure the sound was right and everything just like hit at the right piece. It was a really special time. And then it was just one of those realizations that, oh yeah, okay, we can do this in different cities. And now Mexico City's pretty high on our list to go back to. And we got some great feedback and more people reaching out from the city now being like, hey, bring this back. We want this here, and hopefully bigger venue next time. And we were able to do the full band experience because we only had a few of us for that part of it. So yeah.
Yo, that's so cool. I know. I forgot what happened. There was something that happened that day because I was going to go to the one in Tulum and I got sent to the wrong location because there was two venues with the same name and it was on the other side of town. And then I couldn't get an Uber. And then I took public transport for the first time. I tried so hard to get there. And obviously when the experience begins, you guys lock the doors because it's a closed container. So I get there and the doors are locked and I was like, no. But I just think the universe is telling me that there's another soul expansion that I'm meant to experience for the first time. So I was
Yeah.
this close. I
Yeah.
heard it from the door.
The Mexico ones were really beautiful and like more of the where we started kind of vibes,
Yeah.
like more intimate setting, more very close circuited, close group intention setting, and then also sharing circles at the end and things of that effect. And then in Toronto, it's just gotten to the size that, it's like, it's hard to like have one-on-one shares at the end of
Yeah.
an experience where you have like 170 people there. So
Did you have 170 people last night?
not last night. So last night we were inspired by Mexico. So we actually went
Went
back
back to
that
the
live. So it was 80 people last night. And then typically when we're at Illuminarium, it's 170. So every
wow.
70 there. So at the end of May, that's when our next one is at the Illuminarium. So hopefully you're in Toronto. And that would be a great way to experience it for the first time because the space is just beautiful. Like
Well, end of May is available. So we'll
all right. And the weather's getting better here. So finally. So
we'll cross check calendars. I'm curious to
yeah.
hear how long have you been doing soul expansion for?
So Soul Expansion has gone in a couple different directions, but the main version of what it is now with the full band, we've been doing it for about a year now. Yeah,
Okay.
just a year.
I want to know your story.
Yeah.
Like, what did you study in school? What were you planning on doing? When did the shift or the thing start? Because the whole idea of this podcast, obviously, I'm bringing on people that are doing things that I love, right? Like, I love music, I love mindfulness, I love all these things. But I think the universal takeaway that people can get from these conversations is obviously doing something that you love and that you're passionate about. And how does one do that?
All right, I'll give you the Batman origin story.
Let's go. Let's go.
From the beginning. All right, so I was a wee boy back
Mm,
in. So I would say we could start when my hockey career finished because
okay.
I played college hockey down in Boston. I played Division III hockey down there, and that was my life for a very long time. I was an athlete. That's all I wanted to do was just play hockey. And towards the end of my hockey career, I started to feel a little bit lost. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I was like hurt, not a big guy, but I played very physical. So my body was just like super sore and just, I had enough. And, at that time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So like my professors were like, yeah, you're not really a rocket scientist. I don't know, if further education's in your future. I was more the kind of student that would be like, hey, teach me something I can't Google, like give me some real
Yeah.
world experience
Yeah.
here. So that wasn't a path. So naturally, next best self-education was to watch the documentary The Secret. You know, just like,
Perfect,
yeah,
perfect.
it turns out if you hope and wish hard enough that this universe will present you with some pretty cool things. And I started applying the principles right away. And I was like, let's do this. I locked in. And within months, I learned the guitar. I found myself around some of the most well-known athletes and creatives in the Boston area. Just immersed myself in that scene. One of my best friends was playing on the Boston Bruins. They just won the Stanley Cup. So the city was kind of our oyster. And I found myself in a recording studio with a Grammy nominated artist, one of my good friends at the time, Louis Bell. And we just like, we started making these songs. And I got asked to play. The way it started was I'll give you the full story because it's
Wait, can I pause for a second? So you didn't pick up a guitar until college?
I didn't start playing until I was like, I don't know, 23 or 24 or something
That's
like that.
wild.
Yeah, and just fell in love with it. I was like, I couldn't put this down. That city was just so kind to me. It was such a beautiful time and experience there, but at the same time, so difficult in so many ways because I just started to lose myself a little bit, get swept away in that lifestyle. And my best friend had a purpose. He was playing in the NHL and doing it, and I didn't really have that. So I was doing all the partying without any of the work, you know.
Right, right, right.
And it was just a deadly combination. So back to the music thing, I was just got swept away in it. And I was asked to be on this, is a well-known Boston rapper. His name's Slane. I don't know if you've heard of him, but such a awesome fucking dude. And we were at this after party one night and I was playing the guitar and I knew like a couple chords. I knew like Johnny Cash songs. Like yeah, I was bad. It was
Yeah.
really, and and he just comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, you're gonna play guitar on one of my songs." And I was like, I can't play guitar. Like, I don't know. It's like, no, no, no. You're gonna come to the studio. You're gonna play guitar on one of my songs. I'm like, okay. And then my buddy was like, "We love this guy," so he's like, "You got to do this." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, like we're doing it." So we pull up to the studio. It's in Reading, Mass, which is like like kind of
A
Mass.
little bit out there.
Yeah, so it's a little out there. We pull up in my buddy's like super nice car, and I'm like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, "You want to park out here?" Like, I don't know, right? So we go into the studio, and it's jammed. It's all of his friends are there. I thought it was just gonna be us. It's like this massive, like the whole place is just slammed. It's like a party, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And nobody's kind of paying attention to me. So I'm like, thank God. I'm just maybe they'll forget I'm even here. Maybe they forget, like, yeah, I'm even supposed to do this right now. Just
Yeah.
sit on the couch. Somebody passes me a beer. Somebody passes me a joint. I'm like, all right, this is good. I'm here for the party.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
Not happening. Like, whatever. So then all of a sudden, like, Slang comes over, music stops, and he's like, all right, Fred, what do you got? Show me. Everybody turns around, everybody's looking at me. I'm like, holy fuck. My knee is shaking like this. I'm like, I can barely hold the guitar, right? I'm just like,
Yeah.
like, what do I play this guy? I know 4 chords and like Johnny Cash. That's it. So I'm like, fuck, okay. So I just started doing this thing that I've never done, but with the 4 chords that I had, it was just like bop 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 whatever with the 4 chords. And then like I just get into it, like kind of lose myself for a little bit, close my eyes and just get into it. And I was like kind of high at the time too, so I was just like whatever.
So that helped a little.
The courage, yeah. So then it stops and there's a pause, nobody says anything, and then he just goes, "Whoa, track it, track it right now." And I'm like, thank God, because I have nothing else. Like, I have nothing else. Like that was it. So he's like, all right, track it. So then the party keeps going, and like I go back to the recording booth with Lou, and Lou is just such a sweet guy, man. He's just so nice to me and like so patient. I spent the next 30, 40 minutes trying to figure out what I just did because I had no idea what I had just done. I would piece together what I just did. And we're like, it was so much fun. And then the producer was like, hey, like if you have any of your own songs and I got some time here, like come in when I'm done working and like, we'll work through some of the songs. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's kind of cool. Like all these covers obviously are working for me. I only know Johnny Cash. So like I might as well just write my own shit because
You're like, I better write some songs now that I have an opportunity to
yeah.
record them. Like,
First song I ever wrote was called Love Machine. And I never did anything with it, but maybe it's time to bring that one back. We'll
oh my
see.
God. Do you ever go back and listen to your first recordings and like,
Oh yeah.
how does that feel when you do that?
It's pretty wild. Like, I mean, there was moments when I dreamed of being where I'm at right now, even though it's not at the level that I think I can be.
Right.
There was just moments that I was like, I remember, I'm like, oh, I just want to play one more song. I just want to be able to sing one more song. I want to be able to hit one more note. I just want to be able to do something better than
Yeah.
what I'm doing right now. And so that was cool. So fast forward a couple weeks and the Boston Marathon bombing happens. So I don't know if you
Ooh.
were down there during that time, but
That was a year before I got there.
okay. So that
Yeah.
would have been, yeah. So yeah. So obviously super intense experience. We were just down the street from where the second bomb went off and it just completely sobered everybody up. You know, it's a big party day in Boston
Right.
and completely just sobers it up. They had everything down to like, okay, exit strategy, get everybody out. And we went back to mine and Tyler's place, my roommate at the time. And we just sat there for 3 days because it was on lockdown. So like people were coming in and out of
Right.
the place and just kind of sitting there watching the news. And I ended up writing this song called Boston Strong. It was just basically about the families, the kids that were affected, and just like, it was a tragedy. It was like, it was the
Yeah.
closest thing I've ever been to a real life tragedy like that. So it hit me pretty hard. So I went to Lou and I said, hey, I have this song. Maybe we could produce this and then we could like, put it up on iTunes. And at the time it was iTunes was like $1 a song. You just buy the song and then we can just give the money that we make to the families that are affected. And he's like, yeah, great idea. Let's do it. So we did that and we made some money off of it, which was pretty wild for that. And obviously my buddy that tweeted it out at the time and started to get some traction. So we went to Spalding Hospital and just handed out the checks to the families and it felt very good. And it was the first time in my life where I was like, oh, music can do something than just feed my ego, and just make me
Right. Right.
like I'm actually contributing to the world in a positive way. And that's all I wanted to do. That's all I've really ever wanted to do is just feel like I'm contributing and contributing through my own gifts and something
Right.
that I call my own and like feel like it's fully me. And so that was a realization there. And when that happened, then Lou was like, hey, like what else you got? You got any other songs up there? I'm like, yeah, I kind of do. So we wrote this other song called Summer Nights. And it started off as like it's supposed to be like this little love song, like this like summer nights, like
Yeah.
and, and so at the time, my best friend playing on the Bruins, he was about to get like traded. They were talking about all
Yeah.
these trade things, and to this day, he says that I'm the reason he got traded. But I don't know about that. We were both involved in just hanging out with, yeah, just partying and all that kind of stuff. So, anyways, I won't get down. That's a different podcast for a different day. But basically, we had to kind of stay out of trouble over the next little bit, so he didn't get traded, or all
Oh,
that.
is he gonna get traded because he was partying too much?
Yeah, that was
Mm,
pretty much why.
basically. So you were a bad influence on him.
Well, I was a college student doing what college students do, and didn't realize that anyways, it was a long time ago, so I feel like I can talk about this now, but he was just a genuinely like, nice dude and people took advantage. And
Yeah.
that's really what it came down to. He's just a genuinely generous, open-hearted dude. And the city just tried to, take too much from a young kid that was just trying to do his best out there. And yeah, I've never really talked about this. It's just one of those things where I learned a lot in that process. I learned a lot about just even like what fame is and what it isn't. And
Yeah.
yeah, like how intense people can be for even around young men that are just trying to figure themselves out. And knowing what I know now, I would have done things differently. And I think also I was there as a friend to kind of watch over him. I felt that deeply that I was there to kind of protect him in certain ways. And then I also felt like I didn't do a good enough job. So I think that was, I was also young as well,
Yeah,
but
you're also figuring it out. Yeah.
yeah, I think we were like 22, 23, like,
I worked in Hollywood for a while, so I totally understand and resonate with that, and it's funny how much people pedestalize celebrities, athletes, people that are just very at the end of the day, the only difference between a celebrity and somebody else is just you're really good at what you do, and what you do happens to be something that people care about. Like if you were the best neurosurgeon in the world, people probably wouldn't know your name, on the street. But because you play a sport, people are interested in that. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So it's difficult navigating that, and then for me, I had never experienced anything like that too, and I got this like residual effect of what was happening, and now my music was starting to like catch a little bit of this like flame because of this residual
right.
impact of who he was and what this meant. So we tried to be good. We went out to Cape Cod for 4th of July weekend. There was like 10 of us. We're just like, let's just stay out of the city. We're gonna just we're gonna be good. Like this is it. And within the first hour, we're like, where did Tyler go? Like, what? He's gone. So like that's really weird. So we are just kind of sitting around, no service, so we can't really get a
Yeah.
hold of him. And then the service comes back on. I get a bunch of texts that coming back right now. So he comes back. We're all sitting in the kitchen. He's like, "Hey guys, I got to tell you something. Like, just got traded." And we're all just like jaws drop to the ground. Fuck, like this sucks. And like selfishly, I'm like, fuck, what is this? I thought I was gonna live in Boston. I was like, thought I
Yeah.
was gonna live there for maybe the rest of my life. I don't know, right? I loved it there, and I knew he loved it there too. So it was just kind of like, fuck, I don't know. I don't know what my next plan is or what his next. Obviously, what I knew what his next plan is, but like in like our friend group, I'm like, oh, all my friends lived in Boston too. So
Right.
so it was an intense moment. And then he just looks at me and goes, invite everybody you fucking know. It's like, okay.
Oh, to the house. So it was
Yeah.
turning into a rager. Got it. Got
Yeah.
it.
I guess we were in the clear now. We could party. And so within the next, 4 or 5 hours, we had, when they have those, like, I mean, you're from the States, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in Canada, we idolized, at least in college and high school, these American parties because you see them in the movies, American Pie, and all these things. That was the closest real world experience I ever had to like a Project X
Yeah.
situation. It was wild. It was wild stuff, and we did it 2 nights in a row. And we were supposed to be shooting my music video there. So like
Yeah.
it was supposed to be 10 people just like doing our thing. And we ended up like just like the cameras following me around for the 2 days. And people were like, who the hell is this guy? Like, what's going on here? So we do this whole music video. And then afterwards, we release it on YouTube. And my friend was one of the videographers. And then Barstool picks it up. And at the time, Barstool is not what it is today, but it was like,
Right.
still really big. So
So
we got
cool.
60,000 views overnight. Things were like, do, like, what the hell is happening here? It was
Yeah.
like people as like my buddy's trade party. So like this, and it just went even more viral. It was just like,
Right.
it was this whole thing. So then, you know, this song was like, I don't know, I guess it was an okay enough song, but it was like very poppy and not really me, but it was,
Yeah.
it was whatever. And so they started playing it at my college. They started playing it like everywhere, the places that I was going, and started to catch a little bit of this steam. And they're like, you got to play this live. Like we would play in a bar and like all this stuff. So I was like, okay, and I'm so nervous. I'm like, I can't, shit. I'm only good because the recordings and like Lou's a great producer. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I played live at this bar and I completely shit the bed. It's like so bad. And I'm like, I am never playing again. Just never doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never gonna play again. That's it. Thanks for coming. It's over. Had a great run. And
Yeah.
so after that, I
This
actually,
this was like truly definition of fake it until you make it.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
This entire journey so far is like, I knew 4 chords. I got on an album with 4 chords. Like,
No idea. It was literally like, that saying, three chords and the truth. That was literally everything I was doing. It was just like, and it wasn't even the truth at the time because it wasn't my full expression of who I
right.
was. I
Right.
think maybe it was at the time, but not who I am down to my core and my soul.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was like, it was really interesting. It was a really interesting time. And I stopped. I just stopped, stopped playing in front of people. I stopped doing the recordings. We recorded 4 songs, 4 music videos, which are hilarious. But anyways, so after that, I came back home. I got into a relationship, and I just kind of like tucked myself away for a little bit. Got into like real estate, I started making some money and started feeling good about myself. And then it just kind of got away from me again, got back into like the partying and got into the drugs and just like, this external validation. I started doing real estate for a lot of professional athletes. So a lot of my buddies' friends and my friends that I had made in the space. And we basically created an Airbnb for pro athletes. So they would come and purchase properties and we rented out to other athletes during the season. So I ended up like just partying with them. So I'd have like
Right.
landlords calling me and be like, hey, my tenant is partying too much. And I'm at the party. I'm like, fuck, that sucks, man. We got to do something about this.
Oh my god.
We gotta really get it under control. So, anyways, so that was another phase, and just started feeling lost again. Pushing my girlfriend at the time away, pushing my family away, just like really not feeling good about who I was and what I was contributing to the world. And through that transition, that process, so we broke up and I just went through this self-discovery phase, like, okay, what's next kind of thing. And I knew that the drinking had to stop because that was like, it was too normal for me. It was just everything
Right.
too accessible, too normal. And that high level that I was going at, it was just unsustainable. So I went down to San Diego with my buddy. And at this time, I had started a cannabis company. We were building CBD into a water soluble form for drinkables, mostly for
Right, right.
that. So I wanted to go down there with some suppliers and manufacturers and just kick some doors and just get out of Toronto for a little bit. And that's when I actually ended up started like getting, yeah, I think you met Stella, my ex, like that's
Yeah.
what when I like started getting together around that time. So she was such a great influence on me and just like creating this new lifestyle around health and wellness and just getting out of those old patterns and out of those old ways. And it took quite a long time for me to get out of those patterns. And she was with me through it all in the beginning of like
What a say. I've tried to do that with guys before and I'm like, I can't be that person. I'm so sorry.
takes its toll. And I applaud every woman who's had to deal with that. And it's not easy because we're trying, like it's
Yeah.
not for a lack of trying. It's just like chemical imbalances and also just patterns that are so deeply rooted in this toxic masculinity that it's hard to break. And I've done a lot of work over the last little bit just to get to a place where I feel in integrity with myself. And
Amazing. That's
it,
really amazing.
it's a constant daily process. It's not like, hey, you have it now and you're good. It's like, no, it's like you keep going at it. And Stella and I are no longer together, unfortunately. And I think, obviously because of how much work she put in over the years to like help me through those moments, like, it takes a toll on her and who she wants to become as well. Right. Like it's a lot of energy to be that for somebody. And we were trying to be something for each other, in
Right.
that process. And so it's like all my energy of trying to fix myself, also trying to be there for her, be this something, whatever she needs. So it's a lot. And then we grew so fast together. We were birthed by COVID kind of thing too. So she moved in very quick. COVID was an accelerator in our relationship and such a kind of beautiful time for us. That's sick to say, but like we
Right.
just had,
Right.
each other, which was so supportive and strong. And she was coming from a marketing background and I was coming from this entrepreneur background. And then we actually found Othership together. So we were going to Home, which was right across the street, and this like amazing, meditation space. And then we see, we're like, what the hell is this across the street? This like Othership, no
Yeah.
idea. It's on ice baths, like, okay. And I think it might have been open for maybe 2 weeks when we went. And she's like, let's go for Valentine's Day. And I was like, nah, let's go get like a bottle of wine and a steak and just like, have a normal Valentine's Day. She's like, no, we got to do this. It's like, okay, all right, let's do it. And at the time I had started like, at least doing a little bit of breath work at home by myself. So I started this YouTube thing. Stella was very into meditation. She was doing a course. So I'm like, let me learn about this breath work. And then there's like a certification. I'm like, I just went down this rabbit
Right.
hole and had a completely psychedelic experience. Find myself on the carpet here in this living room.
Yep.
Like, what the hell was that? What just happened here? No alcohol, no drugs,
Yep.
zero validation, just me, myself, my breath, and something bigger than me.
Yep.
It was incredible. So I was like, okay, I want to do more of that. So then I was a little bit curious as to what was going on at the sauna ice bath place. And we went there and Harry and Amanda were leading the class. I think there was maybe like three other guides at this time. So it was
Right.
like pretty new. And we go there and we're doing the couples class together, and we're just having this incredible experience together. There's just such a bond. Harry and Amanda are just the best. They're literally cream of the crop, facilitators, and I've always looked up to both of them, especially Harry, just because we connected with. He's also a former hockey player and stuff, and we deeply connected right away. And Stella went in the next day. I think it was the next day, and she's like, "I have to work here. Like,
Yeah.
yep, I'm in. Like, how can I work here?" And they just basically hired her on the spot. We're like,
Yeah.
we need guides, we need people like to get rocking. And I was just like, I'm just gonna come here because this is beautiful. And I'm like, I'm this entrepreneur, I got my shit figured out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So and then I was like, I'll maybe start this breathwork stuff, and I can integrate that into maybe some of my cannabis companies that are doing seminars and doing all these things and whatever, right? So I didn't hop in right away, and I was kind of like just watching what they were doing and like watching what Stella was doing. And then we went to a breathwork event that they were hosting, and they'd done the same breathwork that I had just found on this YouTube, and I was like, oh my god, this synergy, like this, like what
yeah, yeah.
here with this breath work. And I'm in the process of getting certified. I told them all about this. They're like, okay, all right, you have to come and like just be a part of this. Like
Right.
teach the couples class with Stella. And I was like, okay, like I'll try it out, whatever.
Yeah.
I just fell in love with it right away. It got me hooked, and obviously working with her was just so incredible. And just watching her blossom into a leader that she became and she is now is like pretty special to see. And then my own growth, I was very nervous starting out. I was like not ready to like present again, especially because my scars from Boston. I was
Right, right. You're like, fuck.
yeah. So then, like bit by bit, brick by brick, I kind of broke that wall down, and Othership was a massive, massive piece of that. It helped me
So
out so much.
did you just facilitate that one thing, or did you become a guide at Othership?
So then after that, I got the itch. I was like, okay, I want to do this. I want to really do this. So I created a class called the Mindful Athlete, which is probably one of their like stretch classes now, or something they changed it up quite a bit. But it was the idea of like just having this more mobility going on, a little bit mind body connection, that kind of vibe. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. And again, still had that athlete like mindset.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I'll do this for the athletes kind of thing. And it went really well. And I was like teaching it twice a week, and people were loving it. And I
So
was
so
like,
you were officially working with Othership.
yeah,
You're like, okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. So
okay,
then at that time I was like, okay, like I'm a guide. I'm here. I'm ready to
okay,
rock.
cool.
Maybe there were like 10 guides. There was
Yeah.
like maybe 10.
I didn't know this at all. I love how
Yeah.
interweave this place is into, like, all of my guests.
Yeah, yeah, wild stuff. Wild stuff. That's why when you said you had Robbie on here, it's like, oh, obvious.
Yeah,
Like,
I had Robbie, I've had Rachel, I have so many
yeah,
Othership ties. It's so
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it became this like nucleus for wellness in the city that just
Yeah,
expanded and created this beautiful flow of what's happening right now, which is I think a wellness revolution.
totally,
It's
totally.
great. So yeah, so now I'm a guide there, and I see Harry do the sound immersion class, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? That was amazing. I want to do that. So I was like, okay, time to dust off the old guitar and start playing in front of people again. And I had been practicing a little bit, and like, just like not really like honing my craft, but like at least keeping it close by.
Right.
So I go and I like Harry, I want to do this class. He's like, yes, we need somebody to do this class. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
And I was like, okay. So I was one of the first guides to take on the sound immersion class, and I think I was the first one to bring the guitar in the sauna. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna like do my own way with the guitar.
right,
And and I learned a couple more chords and a couple more songs by that time. So I didn't have to play Johnny Cash in the sauna, which is
right.
so yeah, I started doing the sound immersion. I just absolutely fell in love with it, and then doing that twice a week just let me really hone my craft and get into my voice. And doing a lot of this energy work, I did a 10-day vipassana, like a silent retreat. I'd done a lot of these deep dive psychedelic journeys. I had worked with like voice coaches that were more on an energetic level and things like that. So it was just a real birth of this version of me that I really wanted to bring out. And through that process, I'm still getting rid of the old me.
Right.
Still traces of that in there, which shaped who I became. So I can't be totally ashamed of who that was.
I feel like those parts, right? Having had the hockey experience, and especially for men, because I feel like a lot of times men will see like, hippy dippy men and they're like, oh, like they're different than me. But it's like, no, I was an athlete and I was into partying and I was literally you. I think it helps with the relatability and it helps people be able to see themselves in that and to be able to see that they too have the capacity to expand and grow and come back home to themselves. Because to your point, I don't think you became a different person. My friend has a really, well, it's not her quote, but she recites it often where she's talking about Michelangelo and he was like, I just carved away everything that wasn't it. Right.
And
It's like you're this work of art and you're just continuously just honing and honing and through each of these layers, through, that you're finding music, through finding breath work, through stepping into leadership. And it's like you're just honing.
that I couldn't resonate more with me. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really I love that a lot because that's really what it's all about and figuring out what you're not so you can become what you are. I feel like that's been happening in a big way and it's still happening right now. There's a lot of transformation that's going on right now, processing the breakup with Stella as well and just like moving through all of that in a way where there's so much love there and so much friendship and we obviously want the best for each other, but it's like just, you know, trying to navigate all of it and feel all of it, like actually feel it instead of numbing it and going back to some of my old patterns. They're knocking at the door, so I'm trying to keep them at bay for sure.
Yeah. So now you're facilitating at Othership. Where was the jump from like we're starting to weave into the music into Othership? And then is that sort of how soul expansion was birthed through those experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. So from there, I just had this vision of just doing it more musically. And then Othership was also running their own version of like breathwork events. And I was really inspired by that, of what the breathwork could be in that capacity. And I wanted to make it more musical. So I've tried different things. Like I tried it one version, we called it the electric sound. We did a mini band thing with breathwork interweaved and all of these things. And then Stella and I created what was just expansion at the beginning. It was me, Stella, and one of our coworkers from Othership, Aaron. And it was just mostly focused breath work, a little bit of meditation, and a little bit of music at the end. That was just like me just playing the acoustic for a couple songs at the end.
Right.
And I just kept thinking like I had this vision. I was telling you like the 10 day Vipassana, I just kept on having this vision of this full band experience, this concert like experience. And I just knew that I had to bring it through. And as we kept building 20 people, 30 people, 40 people, 60, just started to grow. I started to realize like, oh, we can bring in more musicians and we can bring in more musicality to the experience. And then it eventually grew soul expansion. More of my vision of what it needed to be came through. That's when Stella and I were like, okay, that's your vision. You run with it and rock with it
Yeah.
and do your thing. So yeah, I was really blessed to be working with the musicians that are part of this right now. And
Right.
a massive piece on getting it to where it is today. So it's really a beautiful synergy.
What's your big dream? What's your vision as you continue to grow and expand and create? Are you living it or is there more?
How there's a bit more, yeah. World tour or bust, like
Right.
I want to take this across the world, and I want to be bridging the gap between wellness and entertainment, and doing it in a way. Yes, yes, and I know we have similar visions. This is one
Yes. Yes.
really. Yeah, just recreate the concert experience. Concerts are beautiful, and there's so much amazing things that happen in the way that concerts are right now. But what if we added more modalities to that, and we added more connection, and we added more of this level of inward self exploration that meets external connection? That's the idea, and
Yep.
the foundation of what Othership, soul expansion, all of these things that are happening right now, the foundation, in my opinion, is regulate your nervous system, regulate your emotional state. And with soul expansion specifically, it's like love yourself so deeply so that you can love the world around you. If you can really love yourself, then you're going to be able to love the world around you that much more. And that's something that I personally struggle a lot with, and why it's such a big mission for me,
Yeah.
because I do not always love myself.
Yeah.
And it's like this battle of interweaving what I'm going through, what I'm learning in the experiences. Like
Yep.
for instance, in the last one, I took what I learned from Rhythmia Life Advancement Center. I went to an ayahuasca retreat, and we took some of the principles that I learned there that I really, really loved. And I love the way Jerry Powell and the team created this sequence of, show me who I've become, merge me back with my soul, and heal my heart. And these were like the three core elements that helped you through the journey throughout the week, which is such an intense week, such a beautiful week. I know I'm a talker, so maybe on another podcast, I'll give you the whole
I
ayahuasca.
know. I'm like, I'm so bought in. I feel like we spent the whole time just with the story, but I'm like, your story is so fascinating. Like,
I know. I sometimes I'm like, I don't know if you are ready for the whole Batman story.
I'm so happy you went there because I feel like, again, throughout so many pieces of your journey, I'm sure there's so many people that are at different stages of the journey that you were on and can see themselves in that. And so to hear the realness of it, the relationships, the breakups, the friendships, the imposter syndrome, the fear, all of these elements weaving, and to hear you say, that you're doing well. I like to say, as we're building our dream life, we're already living it, right? Because if your dream is to take this all around the world and do this, like you're already doing that. It's just
Yeah,
more, 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 right? The goalpost is always going to continue to move.
totally,
Um,
totally.
but to hear you say, even now, as the leader in this space, I'm still struggling with these things. I'm still having a hard time. Like that is so relatable and beautiful to hear. And the most successful people, they solve for their own pains. They're creating what they need for themselves and then they're sharing. I have an activation that I'm doing right now called a pregame meditation. And the
Mhm,
entire purpose of it, similar to yours, it's to get people out of their heads into their bodies and ready to step into a social experience. So instead of
mhm,
using social experiences as a way to numb, suppress, avoid, how can you connect to yourself first before you step in? You say love, I say safety, because for me, that's been my
mhm,
biggest struggle is never feeling safe enough to be present. Always feeling like I need to either have my guard up or have some sort of thing to kind of like relax me and to really get into a place where I'm like, okay, I feel safe in my body
mhm,
because that's safety, love, all of these elements are the prerequisite for openness. And the openness is to connect with others, to connect with the experience, to connect with the music, to feel deeply. You won't let yourself feel deeply unless you feel safe enough and ready to do so.
yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that because
Yeah.
that's so true. And yeah, safety is such a massive piece of being able to go to that level with yourself, right?
Right.
When it's safe enough to create that awareness, to be honest with yourself
Yeah.
too. Just be super honest. And yeah, I feel like within our experiences too, like that's my number one goal is to make people feel safe. Is it like, hey, you are held in this experience and it's safe for you to go wherever you need to go. And for you to do that in like a social setting is so important, right? Because maybe that eliminates the need for numbing, right? Like the need to numb the feeling of this, like, I don't know, like, I even in, my most social version of myself, when I was like walking around with the crowd and of
Right.
Boston, like, I was nervous. Like I had this, and which is why I had to drink so much, right? That I felt like, do I even belong here right now? I'm sitting in a booth with like Super Bowl champions and NFL or NBA
Right.
champions, NHL champions. I was like, I need a drink, So
Right. Right.
yeah, and to be able to replace that drink with self love, safety, self actualization, there's a strength in that you don't have to rely on any types of crutches. And those can be, instead of crutches, they can be celebrations, and they don't have to completely be removed from your life unless you feel that they need to be removed for whatever reason,
Right.
but they can be used as more of this celebration as opposed to this coping mechanism, this numbing device. And whether it is psychedelics, drugs, alcohol, and like, I'm no choir boy, but I definitely changed the intentionality of it. And also, one of my good friends, Stuart Campbell, he sent this to me and it really stuck. He's like, the difference between a drug and a medicine is the intention you put behind it. Right. And I really, really believe that when you
Yeah.
use some of these medicines in the right way, around the right people,
Yeah.
and coming from the right source, obviously massive.
You hit the nail on the head. I'm, I like you. I'm no choir boy. Same. I mean, I'm not completely sober, but what I preach and what I share and what I talk about is intentional consumption. It's about the intentionality around this, and to your point as well, that you're not on autopilot, that you're not using, right? You're not
Mhm.
using substances as a way to numb, suppress, avoid, distract uncomfortable emotions
Yes. Yes.
at the end
100%.
of the day. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, I fucking love your story. I think it's so incredible. It's so relatable. Um I love hearing the personal development stories of men particularly, because I feel like it's we're getting better. More and more men are sharing their experiences and their stories, but I think that on whole, men are still needing more permission to feel and to heal and to express and to step into that arena. So I am so grateful for you and your openness of just sharing what you've been through, what you're moving through, and what you're building, because I think that men need to hear this. Um, yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And also, yeah, one of my main pillars of what I think I'm on this planet to do, not I think, what I am on this planet to do
there we
is change.
go.
What I am on this planet to do is to help men recorrect some of those patterns, some of those negative loops that they're on. If they can take a look at me and say, hey, he did it. So if that fucking guy can do it, I can do it too. So that's the kind of way that I want to be. And I've done a lot of men's work, been a participant, been a leader in some of these groups. Getting men to use their voice, like sing as well, all together has been a really something I hold in high honor. It's something that's I don't take lightly, and it's not something that I do in a way where I'm like looking to make a living off of it. It's more
Right,
of act of service, and
right.
there's nothing wrong with that. I'm making a living off of it. It's more so for me. I really just want to be there as whenever I can be in those moments for these men. And there's some men that are going through some really hard stuff that they're not letting out, and we need to have more outlets for them, because the more they bottle it up, the more they numb it, the more these patterns create, and the more we can't show up for our limit. That's really, at the end of the day, I want to be the man that shows up fully for my partner all the time, not some of the time, all the time, and in every bucket of life. And in order to do that, you need to have the energy, you need to have the vitality. In order to have the energy and the vitality, you need to clear the pipes. You need to clear the gunk of all the shit that's holding you down, all the negative emotions that you're scared to let out, or you're scared to weep and let that stuff out. And I was like that for a long time. I wouldn't let myself cry. I wouldn't let any of that stuff out. And I wouldn't even talk about it. Now I can't shut up. But I
Yeah. I love it though. And for us intuitive women, we can feel the energy of whatever's not being spoken. And so when there's things coming up, when there's emotions being suppressed, when there's things, it's like the room feels heavy and there's nothing going on. And from, someone on the outside looking in, you're like, nothing happened. And it turns into this fight and it turns into this and it turns into that. And it's like, it's it's your things that need to be dealt with and cleared and energetically moved. So, but that's stuff that's hard. It's not tangible. So it's hard to explain and it's hard to talk about. And I believe that's a lot of what happens in conflict and relationship with people is a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of men don't know how to do it. Like they want to, just don't know how to do it. And for those men, I would say like find a men's group, find one that you resonate with. And if financially it's an issue for you, reach out to me and we'll figure it out. Like, well, that's at the end of the day, it's like we need to know where to go, and then
Yeah.
we can start making those decisions. And then it's up to you to do the fucking work. Do the work for yourself, do the work for your family, your lineage, your ancestors, do the work for your partner, whether you're with somebody right now or whoever that's going to be in the future. And I learned some very, very tough lessons over the last year, over the last several years, specifically over the last year. And I've just been integrating those and trying to deal with it all. On the topic of with myself and Stella, I felt that towards the end of our relationship, we were giving everybody else the best version of ourselves and then giving each other whatever was left.
Right.
And it's like, when you give somebody that you love whatever's left, you're not making them a priority. And if you're not making them a priority, what are you doing all this for? Because I felt like I was building soul expansion for us, for all of it. But then it turns out it was actually, no, selfishly for myself. And what she really wanted was somebody to show up fully. And, that it's a lesson. It's a lesson that you learn, and then hopefully take it into the next relationship and just be the man that that you can be. And there's obviously more to it than
Yes.
all that, and that's her story to share. And but yeah, that's kind of the lessons that I've been moving through over the last little bit. And I also, part of the inspiration for the Mexico trip and the ayahuasca, I'm like, what are the most cliche things I can do after a breakup? Well, let's
Yeah.
let's go to Costa Rica and do ayahuasca. Like,
I mean, listen, when it comes to plant medicine, when it comes to travel, when it comes to any of these things, if you're tuned into your intuition, it's not even up to you. It's going to say, hey, this is the next thing. It's going to unfold. The ceremony is going to present itself. The trip is going to unfold organically. Things are going to roll. And so, even when I met you, like I could feel, obviously we didn't get to drop in or chat that much, but you mentioned the breakup, and I just like energetically, I was like, oh, he's in a process. He's doing something. He's doing some work, and it's beautiful and
yeah,
great, and as you should. And again, like I wish we had unlimited time, because I feel like there's so much to unpack in all of this.
one,
But I'm just very grateful for your vulnerability in all areas, and hearing about all of the aspects that come into building the dream, and the vision that you once held, and how it shifts and evolves and changes, and how some people come into our lives that we believe is forever, and maybe the purpose of it is to birth this thing, and having grace and love and openness. It's just all a part of the process of stepping into the version of ourselves that we hope to be, that we're aspiring to evolve into. And then also, when it comes to creation and entrepreneurship, it's the same thing. It's that allowing it to birth through us, however difficult the lessons that come with it are.
yeah, yeah. I think you said something pretty incredible there. It's the grace, like the grace through it all. Just handle the shit when when it comes at you, and
Yeah.
do it gracefully. That's something that I'm super proud of and respectful of, the way like Stella's handled our breakup and the way I'm moving through it as well. And yeah, just trying to do it with a little bit of grace, and then also just in business and my career as well, like just adding that level of grace wherever I can.
Yeah, and I think also to kind of tie in, your experience with the athletes and the imposter syndrome, and now you stepping into this leadership space. I'm sure there are so many people that come to these events that look at you like, wow, you've got it all figured out. You're doing the fucking thing. And I think continuing to remain humble and to share your vulnerabilities and to be honest about that is helpful as well, for people to just know you don't have to be fully healed to create what you want to create. You can still be in the process. And spoiler alert, we never fully heal. There's no finish line.
There's yeah, straight to the end of the book. There's the answer. Yeah, 100%. And just realizing that like there is something bigger than us that is at play. And I think that when I surrender more into that, it feels like I'm actually living life as opposed to just moving through it. And yeah, that's the best I could say about that, because yeah, I definitely don't feel like I have it all figured out or anything like that. It's more about just like taking inspired action. And when you believe in something bigger than yourself, you take inspired action. It doesn't feel like effort. It just feels like you need to do this. I just need to do this.
I love that. I think that's a perfect place to cap it out. Um, I know you mentioned there's an event in May. I want to give you the opportunity to share. We're going to have in the show notes below your Instagram tag to Soul Expansion, anything else we want to put down there. But this is your opportunity to tell the people, how do they find you? How do they go to your events? And how do they work with you if they're inspired by you?
Amazing, amazing. Yeah. So the next Soul Expansion event, if you're in Toronto, it's going to be May 27th. I believe it's a Tuesday night. And it's going to be a beautiful experience, more breath work, a live band. It's just, you got to come check it out. And if you want to see some of the videos on social media, my Instagram is Freddy Sounds, just at FREDDY Sounds. And then you can find the Soul Expansion page on there. It's just at Soul Expansion, the underscore. We can't get the other guys to get rid of the Soul Expansion. without the underscore.
Thank you so, so much. This was so much fun. You guys definitely check out Soul Expansion. I'm going to try to finagle a Toronto trip at some point this summer. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, comment, reach out to me or Freddie. We are real people. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, and stay tuned for the next one.